Here with reaction, former senior counselor to President Trump, Kellyanne Conway, also former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, former White House Chief of Staff, also Reince Priebus. We'll toss a coin who was the better Chief of Staff. We'll let Kellyanne make the final toss. Kellyanne, we'll start with you tonight because President Trump was right again. You know, but people said, well, Donald Trump fought with the press. He called them fake news media and et cetera, et cetera. The country was so much better off. I never thought it would get this bad this fast, and I don't think any American did.
No, they did not. In less time than it takes to have a baby, Sean, they basically unraveled these great accomplishments and started to ruin America. Look, when the White House in which the three of us worked, nobody ever wondered who is the president, who's in charge, and what is he thinking. All of those were assured at every moment. But I have to say something about the montage of lunacy you treated us to at the beginning of your monologue. It should not be an occupational hazard to work at the United States Supreme Court as a justice or to be a family member of one of those justices. Some of them have small children. I think many of them have spouses. And the threats that are going to their safety, to their lives, are very worrisome. It is American to disagree, to dissent, to protest. It is a crime to threaten people's lives and worse, and publish their addresses and try to incite the kind of violence that we've seen in the past. And they're saying Ruth sent us, referring to the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. No, she didn't. She wasn't for violence like that. She never compelled anybody, never incited people to go to folks' houses. She and the late, great Antonin Scalia were the best of friends, by all accounts. So I really hope everybody turns down the temperature and law enforcement gets involved, because I'm very concerned. But as for these accomplishments, look, everybody knows Putin, Kim Jong-un, Iran, Xi Jinping, they were all at bay when Donald Trump was in there. Gas prices were lower, but our morale was higher, too. You know, in the polls, it actually include issue sets, but also ask just about the state of the nation. People are very unhopeful. I think the last time people really had hope was on Election Day 2016, when they felt there was going to be somebody different doing something differently. And now they're just unraveling. Spite is no way to run a country. Joe Biden thinks Donald Trump did it. I undo it. Spite is no way to run a country, folks, and that's what we've got.
So the MAGA movement, according to Joe Biden, Mark Meadows, the MAGA movement is the single greatest danger and most radical group in America. Let's see, people that believe in energy independence, secure borders, constitutionalists on the bench, free and fair trade, peace through strength. That's so radical. That's so over the top. I've never heard such ideas that were that crazy.
Well, listen, Sean, Kellyanne is exactly right. When we were in the White House, you didn't have to guess who was the president of the United States, because President Donald J. Trump was calling the shots and actually using the MAGA movement, which is more than just the Republican Party. That's where Joe Biden got it wrong. We've got Democrats and unaffiliated voters that are part of the MAGA movement that says that they believe that America should be great. We should celebrate the greatness. And when Joe Biden actually leaves $85 billion worth of weapons to the Taliban, that should be condemned. And when they start to politicize the Supreme Court, as they've done with leaking this document and ultimately by calls to pack the court and expand the number of justices so that liberal progressives can get their way, it's just not what America is all about. But it is what politics is all about, and that's why we should be calling out many of the progressive left that have an attack on the Supreme Court.
You know, Reince, I brought up the 574 riots in the summer of 2020. We had dozens of dead Americans. We had thousands of cops injured. We had billions in property damage. I played the rhetoric. Kellyanne referred to it. And the Democratic Party as a whole, their silence was deafening almost the entire time. It seems to me that when it comes to criticizing their radical base, and then I played comments of prominent Democrats and the ones that want to punch Donald Trump in the face and dream an awful lot about blowing up the White House, nothing ever happens to them. But if it was a conservative, if one day Sean Hannity lost his mind and said something that stupid, I don't think I'd ever do another show ever for the rest of my life. And I might have the FBI at my door asking a lot of questions, and they might put me in these really nice looking handcuffs that they have.
Well, that is so true. And here's where we're at. These are the tactics of liberals in America. The good news is that I think Americans are starting to reject these tactics. And what are the tactics? One is false labeling. They want to call everyone a white supremacist who has a MAGA hat on, who doesn't think that CRT should be taught in school. They call parents science deniers because they don't want their 2-year-olds and their 5-year-olds wearing masks. They call people who don't think that boys should compete against girls in sports transphobics. Then they move to deplatforming, and they say that if you post anything that we don't agree with, you're off of Twitter, you're off of Facebook, you're off of Instagram. Now Elon Musk says, basically, go jump in a lake, I'm going to take care of Twitter. Then what do? Then they resort to violence. And it's BLM, and it's Antifa. And the reason why, to answer your question, is that these are the tactics embraced by liberals. And every once in a while, I look at the rules for radicals, and we've talked about this before, but one of them in these rules for radicals is to find ways to intimidate, marginalize, and isolate and punish individuals that espouse opinions that you don't agree with. Sean, it's embedded in what they believe and how they operate. So this is not a surprise, but I do think Americans are starting to have enough of this stuff, and that's why they're going to get killed in November.
Kellyanne, when I played Chuck Schumer threatening Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, was that a threat? Because I think it was.
Yes, it was. And as for Chuck Schumer, I don't want this old white guy telling me what to do with my body, Sean, and how to think.
That's very woke of you. Go ahead.
No, it was a threat. It was a threat. He went to their place of work and threatened them.
Right.
By the way, have you noticed there's always cameras involved? They have to bother Ted and Heidi Cruz at dinner, Kirstjen Nielsen, the Secretary of Homeland. They've always got their camera out, and then they go, which makes you wonder. But I think it's all escalated now, and it's because of something you said earlier, which is that people are lying about what would happen if, in fact, that opinion holds and Roe versus Wade no longer exist. Of course, abortion will be accessible. People are lying about that, and the left benefits from the fact that a majority of Americans, when you ask them what did Roe versus Wade actually provide, they get it wrong. The Democrats love that. People know Planned Parenthood gets $500 million in taxpayer money. They were caught selling fetal tissue and baby body parts a few years ago. They're for 9th-month abortion. They're for sex selection abortion. They're for taxpayer-funded abortion. I would ask every liberal out there, every pro-choicer, just can you think of one abortion you think is a bad idea? Just one. Tell us. Describe it to us.
We have many states that allow.
They never have an answer for that.
Kellyanne, we put up on the states in this union that allow abortion up until the moment of birth, and then of course we played Ralph Northam. Yes. Let me ask Mark Meadows this. Yeah, let me ask Mark this question. Now that they're giving out the addresses of Supreme Court justices, clearly this is all an effort to intimidate them, Mark, and maybe make the case as people like the congenital liar Adam Schiff and Elizabeth Warren are suggesting we pack the courts. But if, my message to conservatives would be never give out the address of any justice, any elected official, anybody that works on the lowest level of government. And if you ever see anybody in public, leave them the hell alone. Say hello if you want, be nice, otherwise leave them alone.
Well, leave them alone, and certainly what they're calling on a lot of the left to do and going to protest at some of these justices' homes is not only inappropriate, but it's dangerous. Listen, we love this country, and being able to protest and express your opinion is something that we should be able to peacefully do. And you can do those, in the public square. But to suggest that doxing, someone and giving out their address, this is all about intimidation. This is what the left has mastered, and they continue to master it. And where are the Democrats condemning this? When you think of the Supreme Court, no matter what the makeup of the court has been, is, or will be, you want them to be a neutral arbiter of the truth. And yet what we see are politicians and the left particularly pushing their agenda, and this leaked document is really an affront on the Supreme Court and that neutrality.
Let me give you the last word. Same question. I really now fear for these justices, and I would never want a conservative to ever act in the same way. Reince Priebus.
No, never. And I think that's the difference between Republicans, Democrats, liberals, and conservatives. Live by the golden rule, do unto others as you want to be done to yourself. But the real question, the real issue here is that Democrats and liberals, as Kellyanne said, they've taken it too far. They went to late-term abortion. They went to taxpayer abortions, and then they said, we're not going to tell parents when a 15-year-old girl wants to go after school and have an abortion. And that's when parents rose up, and parents are rising up all over this country like they did in Virginia. They're doing it here, and they're doing it across red states in America, and they're calling the question to the courts, and the justices are likely to respond.
All right. Thank you all for being with us. We appreciate it. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.